I make a motion that we open tonight's meeting of the Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Here, the meeting is officially open at 7:03. Welcome. My name is Curtis Highsmith. I'm your chair. We'd like to welcome you to the Architectural Board of Review and Historic Preservation. This is July 10th, 2013. Hopefully, each and every one of you are at the right meeting. I'm going to introduce our panel. Ham Hogue, Esther Pastor, Brian Brady. Unfortunately, Christina Redding will be here, but she'll be a little late. We will not have our historic consultant here this afternoon, but we'd like to welcome Bo Robinson, our legal counsel. And as always, Antoinette, we welcome you. We're going to start this evening's applications with permits. First application, please.
Those are in Ruggs, 96 Main Street. So
Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Your name for the record, please.
My name is Hans Bougeron.
Please step forward.
My name is Hans Bougeron.
Okay. Brian, have you had the opportunity to review the sign? Pam,
I think
questions?
it's nice.
Esther?
I've seen it. I think
Yeah.
it's very appropriate,
Thank you.
tasteful.
Have no issues with the application. Is there any public comment on the application? Motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the application for Boucheron Rugs, 96 Main Street, Southampton.
Second?
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Actually, the full sign says Bougeron Rugs, underneath says 4 Antigua Gallery Road.
Yes.
As submitted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Next application, please.
Next application is Radio Shack, 68 Main Street, for the well-known sign with samples.
Your name for the record?
Chairman, members of the board, I do have some new samples I would like to present,
Please.
and I certainly hope you're not getting tired of seeing me. And first off, I would like to apologize for the last time. I know I called this the town very many times, but I am used to speaking a lot of times before towns, and it's just no disrespect, so I apologize for that. We appreciate the village here and the look that you have, the uniqueness, and we tried to come back with something that obviously was not acceptable. I went back to all concerned, and we came up with a sign that we hope would be acceptable to the corporate branding and conform to the overall look in Southampton Village. First, to address the awning, as I don't think we really have all along had a problem with the awning. It's now a retractable awning as it was last time. They would like to put the verbiage Radio Shack on it as they had proposed, which is the samples are there, which I think conforms to most other awnings in the town. The newest design for the sign is 21.5 inches by 43.5 inches. It's small in relationship to the current sign and most signs in the village as opposed to the storefront size. It is now a carved design sign, wood carved design, and we've gotten rid of the plexiglass. It is not backlit, it's overhead headlit with the gooseneck lamps. The only non-wood part of it now is the verbiage that says Radio Shack, which is about 2 3/4 inches tall, and it is brushed aluminum, as in the sample, which the size of it I think is unobtrusive. There are other signs in the town that are a little larger, that have shiny face fronts. So we're hoping that tonight with this here, we'll find it as an acceptable design. We're trying to come up with something that will conform to corporate branding as well as fit the nature and characteristics of downtown.
Pam, questions?
I think we've come a long way. We've reduced the sign. Lighting I like. It's unfortunate the awning couldn't just be left the solid brown that you proposed, but I'm fine with the application as it is now, with the carved wood. I think that's the way we wanted to go, and I appreciate your response.
Ryan?
I just want to be clear that the R is it's painted on
Yes,
the
that's
carved
true.
wood,
Yes,
because
it's all
I'm looking at the
painted,
sample and it
plastic.
looks like
Yeah, well, no,
plexiglass.
it is not plastic, it's painted.
Okay, yeah, no, I have no problem with it at all.
Thank you.
I'm in agreement. I know it's been a long road for you.
Thank you, and I apologize again. I know it's.
I know we may seem to be a little,
No, it's important. You have,
but
you
we're very
want to
protective
maintain,
of
I
the village. I
appreciate
think we
that, I
do
do.
a pretty good job in making sure that we keep, especially downtown Southampton, as cohesive as possible, and we try our best. Not say we're perfect, but we try our best.
I
We appreciate
totally
your
understand.
patience and your willingness to at least take some of the recommendations of this board back to the corporate
Thank you.
Any public comment on the application? Anything further from the board? Motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the application for Radio Shack, 68 Main Street, storefront signs and awnings.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Now,
Look.
if I may just ask, this will go back to the building department for...
You are done. You, at this time, have your approval.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Would you like
Would you
your
like this
samples?
sample back?
Sure.
You're onto something, you know? These?
Nah, this will do it. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Good night.
Thank you. Next application, Mr. Chair, is Tech Solution, storefront and directory signs.
Is the applicant present?
I don't have any issues with this. Either one.
You have no issues with the advertisement or underneath? iPhones, iPads?
Well, the hanging
Macs?
sign, I'm fine. It's in an area that's stepped back from the sidewalk pretty far. I don't think it's gonna be visible.
Pastor?
I sort of agree that we might be setting a precedent because to me it clearly looks more like advertising.
Fine.
I agree.
Okay. Applicant's not present. There's some question as to, at least some comments from the board as to the advertisement. At this time, the board doesn't have a vote in favor of as submitted. Is there any public comment on the application before we conclude? Motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn the application for Tech Solution, 260 Hampton Road, storefront and directory sign.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next application, please.
Little Bird Healing Spa,
Please step forward.
16 Hill.
Hello, everybody. I'm Robert Nelson. What we're asking for permission to do is to put up vinyl decals on this glass, the storefront at 16 Hill Street, Unit 6. As far as the proportions, we'll probably less than 20% of window coverage, and the maximum height. The center one is a little taller. It's 11.16 inches high from top to bottom, and the one on the right, on my right, is about 10 1/4, and the one on the left is about 9 3/4. All the widths are about the same, about 38 inches. The center one being 38.4 inches wide. It's it's a storefront window, and the idea was to try to stay. We use the experience from our designer to try to stay within the proportions of what the village usually likes to see. Not so large to has to interfere with vehicle traffic, but for pedestrian traffic to view.
Ryan, comments?
Well, I think we're, falling into the category of advertising, but, it is on the window, and I think that's where you can have a little bit of leeway, but I think it's a little large. I think it's very tasteful and, very simple, but we don't like to see, for storefronts on windows, we can see if it's, like Theory has Theory Men or things like that, but it's just very, very subtle. And this looks to me like almost a billboard going across. I would like to see it a little smaller.
Ham?
I agree with Brian. There's a lot of verbiage on it. It says massage, necks and shoulders, waxing, and all that stuff. It's okay. It's a spa. It's not, we don't need to know what's going on. It's like a grocery store advertising every content in the store. Not every content, but you simplify it just so the name of the business is on it.
I would agree. I think that I would rather see just one word, maybe reflexology, maybe neck shoulder massage, but all on one line, simple, cleaner, and I don't like the phone number at all. Because that's not a service, that's a phone number.
Well, if I made an application to put the phone number on the front door, I think in general that's you know, historically, that's not been an issue to put it on the front door, right?
We're judging this on this application.
Yes,
We wanna
okay,
go
we'll just stay
further
right on
and
this
say
page.
we haven't seen the design for the front door.
What if I was able to reduce the size? You know, kind of as is, but maybe reduce the size by about 15%. That would probably cut everything down.
Not the size, it's the
right.
verbiage. It's the amount of verbiage on it.
What we
And it-
try to do is, and this goes with any sign, not just a window decal, sign, yard sign, real estate sign, any sign within the village. The purpose of it is to just advertise the location of your site, not really to advertise as Ham said, the contents of the business itself. I
Right,
think
right.
SPA speaks for itself, but when you start getting into all of the different various
Services.
services that you provide, it becomes billboardish, and it doesn't really hold true to the type of mystique we're trying to hold here in Southampton Village.
Okay, it's well put, I understand. Okay, I'll modify the application and, you know, we'll try to move forward to the next.
So we're not prepared at this time. You're asking the board to adjourn so you can prepare
Yeah,
yourself?
please, that would be great.
All right. Any
Thank
public
you.
comment before we proceed? Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion that we make a motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
Thank you,
Little Bird Healing Spa, 16 Hill Street, 3 window signs.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Why do I have, okay, and our last application for this evening.
Sunbird.
Sunbart, 53 Joe's Lane.
Hi, Ronald Fisher, to speak on that.
Okay, just a window decal?
It's just temporary. It's going to be up for a week.
Oh. Brian?
Go for it.
No problem, good luck.
Thank you.
I like the bocce ball.
Hope it works.
Thank you very much.
Any public comment on the application? Took it for granted, didn't you?
I make a motion that we approve Sunbird 53 Jobs Lane window sign for 1 week.
Thank you.
Good night.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Concludes our sign applications for this evening. First application, historic application is
First
closed for
application, Mr. Chair, is for driveway gates for Alejandro Camacho and Pamela Rollins, 42 Foster Crossing.
Application is closed for written decision by council.
And in the file is a decision approving the application as amended. An affirmative vote on the motion would be to approve the application.
Motion to approve written decision by council.
I make a motion to approve written decision by council for Alejandro Camacho and Pamela Rollins, 42 Foster Crossing for driveway gates.
Before we close, you did increase, or lower, I should say, by 6 inches. You increased it.
I decreased the top, increased the bottom. No,
other
decreased
way
the
around.
bottom, increased the top.
So you lessened the solidity of the.
Right.
So it's more transparent. Thank you. Second.
That's reflected, by the way, in the decision.
End of the decision.
Thank you.
Moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next
Good night.
application, please.
Marcia Schaefer, Irrevocable Trust, 477 First Neck Lane, demolition of a single-family dwelling, 2 sheds and playhouse.
Good evening. Karen Gydra, Burke Flanagan and Asado, 21 South Main Street, for the applicant. I have here the original affidavit of mailing and affidavit of posting for submission.
Can you hand that to the clerk?
Sorry, I beg your pardon.
You good? Yes, this property is 477 First Neck Lane. It's currently improved with a single-family dwelling, 2 sheds, and a playhouse. It's situated on a flag lot, more than almost 500 feet back from the road. It takes access off of a flagpole that's 25 feet wide by 80 feet deep, as well as a right-of-way that belongs to a neighbor, but this property is the only property that uses that right-of-way, or has ability to use that right-of-way, rather, to access the property. The property itself, the house itself, it's not listed on any of the state or national registry. You totally cannot see this house from the road. It's blocked not only by, of course, the another home that's in front of it, as well as a big hedgerow of privet hedge. We did deliver some photos with the application, which I think I see up there with the chairman.
Excuse me.
If you have any questions about the application, I'll be glad to answer them. But we submit, this is similar to an application that we were before your board a couple years ago, Phillips property, which is at 395 First Neck Lane. Actually, that house was a listed property, whereas this one is not.
First of all, I'd like to get our historic consultant's view on this project, even though it's
He
out of
already
the
has.
public. I
He
haven't
already
seen the
has.
report. And I'd like
Report's
to
in
speak
file.
to him on site. If it's possible to do a site visit on this.
Mr. Student Roth did a report on this application. Report is actually in file.
When?
He did,
Karen, when was the house built?
I'm not sure.
1950.
Thank you.
No, 1860-something, I think, or 1880-something. And it should be a contributing structure under ideal circumstances. It's a very old house with some addendum building. I think there's a little house. And I think, actually, there's someone in out in Sally's here tonight. I think, Sally, you did some work on this house, right? Not work, I should say, but some research. Do you mind, Mr. Chair, if we ask Sally what that?
Absolutely. We'll give you just a second. I'm just looking for Mr. Student Roth's report. 'cause
Would you
Yeah, I
mind
don't
if-
have a copy of his report.
Would you
no.
mind if we asked Sally?
Go ahead.
What's the age of the house? You go up to the... Thank you.
Please step forward, Sally. Sorry.
I have 2 copies for the board, one for Zach, but maybe he doesn't need it anymore. Good evening, members of the Architectural Review Board. My name is Sally Spanberg, and I live here on Moses Lane. The structure at 477 First Neck Lane was originally constructed as the carriage house and groom's quarters associated with the summer cottage named The Rushes at 483 First Neck Lane, built about 1886 for Mr. and Mrs. James F. Ruggles. James F. Ruggles was a New York City attorney and the son of a New York City lawyer, politician, and member of the New York State Assembly in 1838. In 1874, he married Grace Baldwin, daughter of Harvey Baldwin, who was the first mayor of the city of Syracuse, New York, in 1848. Ruggles purchased the First Neck Lane property for $1,600 in October of 1885. He actually got it in foreclosure. After building the Rushes, he died about 10 years later. His widow continued to own the estate until her death. For at least 3 seasons in the early 1930s, the estate was leased for the summer by Finley Peter Dunn Sr., the author of several books under the pen name of Martin Dooley, an editor at the Chicago Times and an editor and owner of the American Magazine. His wife, Margaret Ives Abbott, was the first American woman Olympic golf champion. In 1950, the estate was acquired by Joseph Ansbro Meehan and Catherine K. Sullivan Meehan. Joseph ran the family-owned Good Humor Ice Cream Corporation. In 1982, the property was subdivided into front and rear parcels, but still owned by the Meehan family. In 1997, the front parcel was sold. As was commonly the case, the large carriage house at 477 First Neck Lane was designed as a miniature version of the main house. It is a 2-story structure with a gambrel roof and center chimney clad in cedar shingles. It's very much like the front house, although the front house is much more substantial and elaborate. Additions to each end and some modifications of the windows have been made over the years, but the original volume remains intact with a high level of integrity. Other nearby surviving examples of similar estates still exist, albeit subdivided, such as the one Karen previously mentioned and the one immediately south of this property. Since no one is driving around in carriage houses anymore, the adaptive reuse of this structure has enabled its long-term survival. The whole of the Rushes estate survives today in excellent condition. Yes, the property has been subdivided into 2 parcels, and the carriage house has been converted into a residence, but together they are intact as a surviving original summer cottage property. 477 First Neck Lane is also in a historic district. Even if it weren't, by itself, it satisfies 3 of the village's criteria for consideration as an individual landmark and retains a high-level integrity. It also has an inventory form. I don't have the number for you, but I do have a copy of it. Please help convey that this structure, surviving historic accessory structure, is valuable to the Village of Southampton's architectural heritage. Please help it prevent it from being demolished and encourage the owner instead to maintain it on the property, incorporating it into future improvement plans. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Karen?
Not seeing Zach's report in file.
Yeah, we have not seen that.
Okay. Unfortunately,
I'd
I
like to look at
don't
it.
have a copy of it, and I don't see it here in file, so
We'd like to
until
look at
we
it.
do, I'm sorry?
I said, yes, I'd like a copy of it as well, obviously.
Until we do, and until we have that information from our historic consultant, which can be read as well as presented before record,
So we'll adjourn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'll adjourn. Is there anything further?
I had one question. Has your client looked at salvaging this house, and are they familiar with the history of the house?
The clients are the children of the Meehan, so yes, they're definitely familiar with the history of
But
the
as
house.
far as the total history before they purchased the property in
I'm not
19...
sure about that.
Okay, thank you.
Any public comment on the application? So at this time, we are not prepared for a vote, so
I make a motion to adjourn.
just one second.
Sorry?
So you're asking the board to
Yes, please.
adjourn. So we're going to ask for a motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn the Marcia Schaefer irrevocable 477 First Neck Lane demolition of single-family dwelling, 2 sheds, and playhouse.
So a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sally, do you have something you want to present before the board to keep in file? What you just wrote?
Do
What I just gave you.
you want to have that stamped in?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
No, it's a perfectly acceptable answer, but did I just question one more time with this?
You have a question?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Rob
What-
Nelson.
We have the motion to reopen?
It's okay?
Motion to reopen?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wait,
I make a motion to reopen the application for Little Bird Healing Spa, 16 Hill Street.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Question?
Thank you all very much for your time. My wife and I, we just spoke briefly in the hallway. If we were to strike out the, just to do one line that would say reflexology, massage, strike out the phone number, and put, and write, what do you want, facial or waxing? Yeah.
Your name for the record,
It's
please.
my wife,
May Lou Nelson.
May Lou
Yeah,
Nelson.
It just cross the top here, and if.
And take the phone number out.
And take the phone number out.
Fine with that.
And then I think the total height, because we like to stay in the, we like the font, the proportion of the font, we don't want to stretch it or anything. I think that none of the words would exceed 7¼ inches in height.
Okay.
And if I'd just like to float that by you to see if possibly I can get an agreement tonight.
So just so that we understand, you're just going to, each would be a one-word phrase? And
Yeah.
what would be the
Oh,
third?
take this
Are you using
off.
facial or waxing?
Facial or waxing?
Yeah, facial and wax.
You-
Only
two-
one
well, it's 2
word?
words.
Just waxing.
Can you cross out or add to it? Oh, I think there's a pen down there.
Yeah.
We reopened it. They're making a little change.
Cross out the word you're not going to use. Just choose, I like facial better, but, you know, okay. Okay. And as I say, I'll guarantee that, because we're going to stay in the same proportion, nothing will go over 7¼ inches of height. That'll reduce
Thank you.
the square footage by
Sure.
about 30%.
Okay, so, and you're using facial.
Yes.
Brian, comments?
I think that's fine.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank
Christine.
you,
This is
sorry.
Bringing you up to date. They've changed their submit application to eliminate everything that's been crossed off.
Okay.
So it'll be reflexology, massage, and facial.
Is this
All
Little Bird?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any issues? Esther?
I think it's much better.
Thank you very
Ham?
much.
Looks great.
Actually, I like your suggestions a lot.
Okay.
I really do.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the sign, window sign for Little Bird Healing Spa, 16 Hill Street, 3 window signs
With adjustments.
with adjustments.
Second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
you very
You're
much.
very kind.
Okay.
Next, application historic.
Next application, historic, is for driveway gates, Elizabeth McFadden at 292 First Neck.
Yes. Chris Axel.
Your name for the record, please, sir.
Michael Sauter. I'm here to represent the McFadden's, 292 First Neck, for construction and installation of a driveway entry gate.
Okay.
What's the spacing between the slats?
I believe it stays on the
inches.
plans. Let me just take a look. Open them up.
Great.
3, sorry.
Yes.
Brian, any comments?
It is painted white?
Yes.
Yes.
Pillars already exist.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I think it's beautiful. I think it's great.
Christine?
I think it's beautiful, and I love the pineapples.
Esther?
Very handsome.
Ham?
Sign of welcome.
Appropriate and transparent. Good.
We have it at the 33%. That's a code, right, in Southampton Village, or we try to keep that?
50.
We try to keep that a little bit loose. We try to get as much transparency as possible.
Right. They're trying to stop the
Good luck with your
headlights.
fence.
Yes.
Okay. Next application, Mr. Chair.
Hold on. Any public comment on the application? Okay, the application is in a historic district and therefore requires it to be in written decision. So unfortunately, we can't vote on it now. We will empower a council to do a written decision. We will have it at our next meeting. We'll make the vote there, but it will be a vote for approval. Any questions?
When would be the next meeting? Do we have
2
a
weeks
date?
from today.
24th.
24th.
The 24th. Okay, very good.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I'll be notified, or do I just go down to the building department on that?
No notification.
You can go down to the department on the 25th, and the decision will be available.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Looks good,
Thank
though.
you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Good night.
Motion to adjourn for written decision by council.
I make a motion to adjourn for written decision by council, the application Elizabeth McFadden, 292 First Neck Lane, to construct driveway gates.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Douglas Elliman Real Estate, new rear entrance, window and door.
Good evening. I'm Jean Wyckoff Thompson, the Director of Facilities for Douglas Elliman Real Estate.
Okay.
That's just for this.
It's just new door. Brian, comments?
Find it.
What's that?
Yeah. No,
You
it's
have another
fine.
photo?
Consistent with the rest of the building.
Yeah.
It's in the back of the building too. We want to try to make it look a little something when you come
good.
down that walkway out of the parking lot.
Big
So,
improvement.
Yeah, it really is. So,
Esther, comments?
It's a big improvement over what's existing, and it relates to the rest of the building.
Now,
Pam?
if we wanted to do, I wanted to ask a question too. If we wanted to do like some planters back there or something, because I know that that's village property, the walkway through, but I know it needs to be cleaned up, so we were going to try to clean that up. I mean, because everybody walks through there, and, you know, if we could do something, I would like, you know, we're willing to do it, you know.
The nicer you can make it, the
nicer
better it
the better it
is.
is.
Okay.
Very nice.
Good.
Encourage that.
There is one
I'm-
tree coming down that walkway right on the side that, like, overpowers everything. Can we trim that back?
You're
or
asking me
do
to
we
chop a
need-
tree down?
No, trim.
No, 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 no.
Trim.
I'm kidding.
Trim the tree.
Is it on village property?
You need to
Yes.
check with
Is it-
the village clerk's office and
Okay.
the department that works on it.
Okay.
If it's on village property, we'd have to get permission.
Probably a good idea to take a photo of it.
Yes, absolutely will.
Any public comment?
To answer your question, no, I don't have any issues with this.
Believe it or not, the property is located in the historic district. So I don't know if you heard our last application, however, a property located in the historic district requires written decision by council for approvals. It seems that you have no opposition of this board, so obviously the approval will be prepared. We'll empower him to have that prepared on the next meeting,
And then I get that at the village.
the day after our next meeting. It's your discretion to be here, whether you choose to do or not.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Nothing further? Motion to adjourn for written decision by council.
I make a motion to adjourn for written decision by council, the application for Douglas Elliman Real Estate, 70 Jokes Lane, new rear entrance, window and door.
Thank you very much.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Next application, please.
Next application is Radio Shack Corporation for exterior renovations, window enlargement, and door replacement. Signage having been approved over there.
For the applicant, John David Rose Architect, located at 5 Main Street. Affidavits of mailing. In your package should be photographs of surrounding buildings instead of documents. For the record, I am not the architect of record, but I'm the local architect who is helping them get through the process. Having said that, I think what the proposal is quite frankly, pretty straightforward. This photograph pretty much sums it up. We're all familiar with the building. It is this building here that has 4 units in it. 2 are on the side street. The goal is to make this red brick portion of it the same as the rest of it, to increase the size of, currently they are residential casement windows, which is really not in keeping with the area, make the windows similar in scale to this, which shows up in page 4 of the documents. So the scale will match the surrounding buildings. The brick will be painted white. This and all that we've already discussed at the sign.
Yep.
will be, changed accordingly, but the building itself will remain the same. So it'll just be more in keeping. Very straightforward renovation.
Cleaning it back up. Yeah. Cool.
Brian, comments?
Big improvement.
Christine?
So much of an improvement.
Esther?
Hooray.
Pam?
Great.
Any public comments on the application? No opposition of the board? Thank you.
Historic.
Property is located in the historic district. You know the rules.
Wait, this goes to you.
Motion to adjourn for written decision by council.
I make a motion to adjourn for written decision by council, the application for Radio Shack Corporation, 68 Main Street, exterior renovations, window enlargement, and door replacement.
Thank you very much for your time.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Concludes our historic applications for this evening. First application, non-historic.
Next application is James Branca, 248 White Street, covered front porch, addition, and driveway gates.
Is the applicant present? Motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn the application for James Branca, 248 White Street, covered front porch, addition, and driveway gates.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next application, please.
Next application for construction of driveway gates for Barbara Tekla, 159 Meadowmere Lane.
I'm Alex Bronovich, Boris Bronovich Architects. You guys have the drawings. I don't know if it's indicated on the drawings, but they're to be painted white. In its entirety.
You're really getting it now, aren't you? You're getting the message. People must be watching TV.
Brian, comments?
Just a clarification, the gate's beautiful, but the lower portion of the spindles are different. There's fluting in them, is that what I'm reading?
There's actually a 1/4-inch spacing. They're beveled pieces of wood.
I see.
So, it's just to appear as if it's permeable.
Oh, so that's
I see.
4.5.
It's not
4.5.
solid panel. There's
It's
about a
softening.
1/4-inch, yeah, it softens the
Nice.
gate.
Yeah, that's great.
And it
I think it's
coincides with
terrific.
that.
Christine?
No, I think they're quite lovely.
Ham?
Very appropriate, very nice, soft.
Esther?
Very good.
Only question I have is, the lanterns, are they frosted or they're?
It's gonna be frosted glass with one 40 watt bulb, about 460 lumens. So it won't be very bright at all.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve, where were we?
Barbara Tackler.
Tackler, 159 Meadowmere Lane, construction of driveway gate.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, the next application is for Jason Green, 606 Halsey Neck Lane, for construction of new two-story single-family dwelling with attached garage and a pool pavilion.
Is the applicant present? What's going on?
Mr. Chairman, I have some comment on this application, if I may.
Okay. At your discretion on, either you can voice your opinion this evening. Doesn't seem the applicant is here. May not be here to hear your opinion or your,
Whatever's the best procedure.
again, it's your discretion.
I'm happy to talk to
It would be in the record tonight if you've spoken.
Mr. Chairman, I would, if you could refrain, I would suggest you do it because the applicant isn't here. But is there anything in the file? I mean, was there any request for, I presume you've been here because it was advertised and you received notice?
I did not receive notice. I saw this, I live.
If you could step forward because we're not going to be able to hear this. And there is no letter in file requesting for an adjournment.
Is there?
No.
No.
My name is Bruce Buckman, and I live at 660 Halsey Neck Lane, which is about 4 doors up from the proposed construction on this new site. Mrs. Joanne Bilby lives across the street from the proposed construction site, and I have one other neighbor who has asked me to express his views with regard to this particular construction.
Excuse me, sir. You're here for?
James Branca. I am James Branca, I'm the owner.
You're the applicant?
You're the applicant?
Correct.
The address?
248 White Street, Southampton Village.
We just.
Okay, we just adjourned that. We'll do a second call. Could you hold on?
I'm sorry?
We adjourned that application. We'll do a second call as soon as we're finished here.
You mean you'll see me tonight?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much, I appreciate that.
No problem.
Sorry, sir.
Mr. Bachman, please continue.
We are in an area which is, I believe now, where new construction requires the houses to be built up by 3 feet from ground level. We have had experience with 2 houses in the same neighborhood that have been approved, have been built, and are causing real problems for the neighbors. And I wanted to at least ask you, in your consideration of this construction application, to take in the concerns which we have with regard to construction on elevated properties, which I guess are required to be elevated by law.
What are the concerns?
Well, I'd like to go through the 2 of them. I understand that one of the functions of the board is basically to be sure that whatever is done certainly ensures the privacy of the surrounding properties.
You're talking about screening, is that correct?
Screening, I think, is the word that you use.
Okay.
And I happen to have a large property at 660, and one which is probably as historically and architecturally as important as any in the village. A house was built next to us on a raised because of the FEMA requirement. It went up 35 feet above the FEMA requirement. It looms over our property. We have lost the privacy in a bedroom, living room, actually 3 bedrooms, living room, and 75% of that property. And I'm really concerned that that will happen again. It just shouldn't have happened. I think they did put in trees. The trees all died. There's no follow-up. And we now are in a situation where we have lost one of the primary value assets of that particular property. It also looms over the properties on either side of it. Matter of fact, it looms over 4 properties, all of which are now either in a shadow, or basically you look up and you see this overwhelming mass, and it just has made the neighborhood much less comfortable and pleasant than it was before. And I don't want to see that happen again. If this occurs on this next property, we will now have had 3 properties in which we've had the same problem. There's another one in Meadowmere. I can't say they've got a screening problem because they have put large trees around the entire property.
Are you asking for a screening landscape plan then?
Yes, I'm getting there,
sorry.
Mr. Hoag. It's okay. In that case, I think it's got a looming problem because it's overwhelms houses on either side. In this case, I would really like to be sure that when you review this application, that you take into consideration that with the 3-foot increase, and if what's approved in the past gets approved again, we're going to have a largely disproportionate house looming over the houses, and we could be, if any trees die, impact negatively upon the privacy of the properties on either side. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and I think this probably is not your problem, but I want just to raise it. With the requirement for that 3-foot elevation, we now have major runoff problems in the neighborhood. The street is flooded in front of Mrs. Bilby's house. The street is flooded for about 500 yards in either direction. The house that was built next to us, the runoff goes onto our property because there's no place else for it to go. And we also have the problem that when properties are raised above the ground, it reduces the floodplain. So when we have flooding, the rest of us who have old houses and have been there for years are getting increased flooding as a result of the reduction of floodplain. So those are our concerns.
So I'm sorry, are you looking for a drainage plan? Because that's something that you would request from the planning board, correct?
Yeah, planning, no, I think that's
No,
correct.
that's not correct. The planning board does not have jurisdiction over residential properties.
So who would have the?
There is no, there's no law on this. I mean, one would have thought that FEMA might have, thought this was going to happen with all these raised properties.
Wouldn't the concern be in the landscape?
Wetland permit that's needed for the construction of this house or not, that would be the Board of Appeals.
Yeah.
But if there's not, then there's really no requirements for drainage. The law in the state of New York is that an upland owner owes no obligation to a lower landowner for surface runoff, but this is an artificial situation.
Right.
Right, exactly. So I'm concerned. I'm coming to the places that I know or participate in these decisions. I think the screening issue is a real one, and I'd really ask you to look at that carefully.
This board takes in consideration screening on all applications with regards to, now, what happens after the approval? It's another question altogether. However, when there are homes that are built, and they're built in a way that it is looming, whether there could be a consideration, or I should say lack of consideration for privacy, we do take heed into a landscape plan to ensure that privacy is kept. We also look at second-story decks to make sure that they're not accessible, so no one's looking out on their backyard and into your backyard.
Well, I'm going to say that all of those were violated in the house that was built next to me. All of those.
It's your responsibility then as the neighbor to report that to the building department.
Well, I did when I came back, but the house was up, and I went down to the...
Violation is a violation, whether it's up or it's still a
Well,
violation.
I will do it again, because I went down to the board, to the building inspector, and they said, we'll let you raise your house 3 feet if you want.
The screening and landscape plan could have.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
Sounds like John Foster.
So are you saying there are decks on the house that you're referring to?
Overlooking our property.
Overlooking your property.
And there were trees put in, but they were planted rapidly to meet your requirement. They all died within 6 months. And even then, I would say at least 50% of my property was overseen by this house, at least, including the bedrooms, including the living room, including one of the attachment quarters. So somebody didn't go and look, or something did not happen that should have.
they may have been legally built because they're back far enough. We're not saying that they're legal or not
Yeah, this is
legal.
2 years.
The problem with landscaping is, as you said, or screening, is that a lot of these screening and landscape plans are done sometimes too fast, and things do die and live, and we take that into consideration as well. So perhaps a detail on the drainage to make these things healthy would be supplemented in the landscape
That
plan.
would be very, very helpful.
Okay.
We're concerned.
Sir,
Yes.
what application are you here for?
I'm here for Jason Green.
You are the,
Architect.
okay, well, we're speaking about your application now.
Oh.
This is a neighbor who is speaking about
The
the
neighbor's
application.
requesting a landscape plan and screening plan with particular drainage.
Let's hear the applicant present and see if they have anything that's.
call the
Now, the
application?
application's already been called.
Is there anything else you
So
wanted to?
we've
No, I
been
think
having
that's
discussion.
it. I just
Once
know
you
that
start
we're going to
discussing, the
have-
application has been called.
This is going to be a continuous problem in our neighborhood as houses are taken down, because you can see where it's all going. And we're going to have to deal with it because it's just becoming really damaging to the people who live there.
Let's hear the applicant's presentation and
Thank you.
see if he's made light of that. Please step forward. Your name for the record, please.
Yes, Robert Ortman's Werkel and Ortman Architects, East Hampton, New York. You want to do...
And this is on the application of Jason Green at 606 Halsey Neck Lane.
Correct. I didn't realize we were going to be on so quickly. So, I heard some comments, and I'm not sure if I heard it
Why don't
correctly.
you present your application first?
Okay.
Just for the record, this is construction for a new two-story, single-family dwelling, an attached garage, and a pool pavilion, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Do we have a complete set of plans?
Yeah, present.
Basically,
I'm sorry.
what we intend to
I'm
do...
sorry, for the record, affidavit of mailing, affidavit of posting is
Already
affidavit of
filed.
mailing, but the posting is not, right?
Yeah.
is remove and raise the existing residence and build a new story residence in its place. It's a shingle-style house, shingled roof, shingled sidewalls. Windows are simulated divided lights, white trim, stucco chimneys. The height is just about 35 feet, 34.10, and it steps down on the south elevation. There's a porch up front with a small roof that's rounded and an entrance pediment. On the side, again, the north elevation, we have the main roof, but that steps down again. So it's gradually stepping on the two sides. And in the back, it's 2 stories with a wing coming out on the right, which is a laundry space, and then a screen porch again, which is reflected on the left side of the house. In the backyard, we're constructing an open pavilion pool house that has a changing room and a water closet space in it.
Your choice in using stucco for the chimneys, that's something that's replicated throughout the community that you've noticed and you've replicated, or is it something you feel is genuine?
Well, yes, there are a number of houses in the area that have used stucco, but this is indigenous to the shingle-style architecture that, there's both brick and stucco that have been used both here in East Hampton also.
Brian, comments?
What color are you thinking for the stucco?
Stucco would be an off-white, not pure white, but off, maybe closer to a buff color.
Anything further?
No.
Christine? Ham?
Well, the chimneys, I think, are, first of all, the patterns of stucco. Let me back up. The chimneys are predominantly brick. In some cases, they're painted in Southampton. Very few. I'm sure you'll find examples, but there's very few of a house of this size. This street is a very historic street in our village. It's, as you know, that's why you put the That's why your client wants to build a house. And I would urge you to look at chimneys in the surrounding area, within the immediate area. And I'd like to view this house as it reads on the property. First of all, it goes without saying, and part of the conversation that you missed was a significant landscape, or if you will, screening plan, along with a way to help the drainage in the landscape plan itself. I would suggest that very strongly.
Mr. Green.
And just to
sorry.
complete, with particular focus on your the neighbors in the area to the compass points around. So going back to the chimney, however, I would like to see an option for something else, and at least a sample of the type of material if you are hell-bent on stucco. I want to just walk down in the house a little bit. I'm assuming cedar roof, and then at the gable ends you have a pattern, diamond pattern?
Correct.
Cedar roof. And then what are these three, are these little operating vents, or are they just?
Just louvers.
Just louvers?
Yep.
Okay. And the other thing I'm looking at is over the entrance door, you seem to have a fairly busy entrance system, although it's panelized on the bottom. Your transom units, and I don't want to get too picky here, I'd like to see a little attention looked at that, or look towards that. I don't know, Brian, if you see the way...
Yeah, it's cut off by the eave.
Yeah, it's cut off by the eave, and it looks like it's been AutoCAD'd in. The bay window above that little, it looks like a pediment roof that you have there, but the window above, I'd like to see another look taken at that, rather than it being a if you will, not a bay window, but
picture window.
It's like a picture window with a grid on it. So I think a little more attention could be put towards that. Lastly, I'm looking at, just for the record, the west elevation. Lastly, on the south elevation, you have an extremely tall chimney that my guess is about 20 or so feet tall, without any sort of very minimal corbelling and not a detail at the top where it terminates. So I'd like to see that detail, whether you're using brick or stucco, be examined a little bit. And then just flipping over, if you will, to the, I think the bones of the house look great, by the way. But flipping over to the back side, I'm confused why you're using a eyebrow window on one side, and then on the back you've got these little short shed dormers, and then they're sort of offset, particularly the north elevation where it's coming back in. And then my very last issue that I have, and I'll repeat it again, is I would hate to see landscaping thrown in that's not something that's more permanent. I'd like to see a licensed landscape architect who's going to stamp these plans into screening with particular attention on drainage so that these plants can survive. It's a very low area back there. I'm very familiar with Halsey Neck Lane, and it's like planting in a bog, and it's going to look great for a year or two, and then like that. So, okay.
Could I address some of those points?
Sure, of course.
Okay. First of all, the landscape planning is being done by a landscape architect, Ed Hollander. And
Ed knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
He's very good.
Yeah, and I think there's a certain amount of screening, both on the north side and south side, which we do intend to keep as much as possible. There are some large trees on the south property line, which are substantial, and we intend to keep those where we can. With regard to the entrance, I'm not certain what you said about the entrance door and the
look at the way the
sidelights.
transoms align with the bottom of the pediment entrance. They cut through the triangular fenestration in such a way that it's inappropriate and not in balance, if you take a look.
Yeah, well, I understand what you're saying. These are elevations, and when you look at an elevation, of course, you're looking at everything.
I don't need to be taught how to read plans. If you look at it, the AutoCAD input is off, and it's out of balance. The picture window above is...
Can you show a little detail?
Is a very...
a little more
detail would be appropriate. Brian, perhaps you could...
We can't see what the top of the casing is.
You can't see it. That's the problem.
Okay.
We're asking for a 1/4-inch blow-up detail of that section,
Oh,
please.
okay. I just didn't understand what you
With a
meant.
little emphasis on how the transom looks. So the side lights look fine, but it's the interaction of the transoms with the front entrance.
Right, if
as
you did
well
a
as-
section through it, we could see the, the ceiling of the roof. and
okay,
where
fine,
You see the
fine.
depth.
The transom hits and.
Yeah, I just didn't understand what
That's
you
why
were.
I said
yeah.
on the AutoCAD plug-ins, a lot of times you cannot get that depth, so.
Okay.
And the picture window, if you could reconsider that fenestration there, would be great.
Okay, you're objecting to the diamond light, which is a reflection of what's below it? Is
No,
that what-
I'm objecting to the size of the grid. These are SDL panels that you're using, which are simulated divided lights, which is basically a grill. And that's about a 4-foot by 3-foot window, is that correct?
Somewhere in that
Window.
neighborhood, yeah.
Just take a look and see how it reads with the rest of the house, especially with the entrance. It's tower-like over and it's a little more commanding. I'm not going to teach you how to design stuff at all. It's not my job. But, Brian, you had a comment on that, and you as an architect, I think you have.
Just the fact that it's a big picture window. Maybe if it was 2 windows or something like that, it would sort of hold its weight a little bit more. It's not lined up with, it's larger than the door, but it's not lined up with this door side light combination.
But that area is recessed, isn't it? That area is recessed.
You show the cross-section.
Okay.
Well, it's
Very
probably,
helpful, but-
we don't have plans, so it's probably the entry hall, and it's probably a 2-story space, and that's
Correct.
the light coming through it.
Correct.
And all we're saying is that if it had a little more detail to it, it would look a little bit better.
Perhaps the casing, side casing, surrounds, caps, that sort of thing. But going back, the stucco, I'd prefer brick, to let you know, and even a painted brick perhaps, but with some sort of panelization detail going up on the chimney would be nice with a more substantial corbelling detail. I'd like to see a detail of that.
Is there a
Whether you
reason
use
why,
stucco or
is
not.
there a reason why the material of stucco is being used?
Well,
Just
he just
design.
wanted a minimalist statement on the chimneys, and he wanted to keep it simple, and he wanted, stucco has been used in the area.
Get some samples
Yep,
and just the
yep.
color, define the top and the capping and so forth would be good.
Esther, any comments?
I think Ham said everything. But I would agree with him on the mass of the chimneys, and I definitely agree on the front entry window. I think the picture window is not in scale or in keeping with anything else, so I think it would be helpful to see something different there.
Hearing the neighbors speak about, unfortunately, and it's very unfortunate you weren't here to hear some of the dialogue prior to. It will be in record, as well as being the ability to review his comments on the Southampton Village website, if you ever want to hear the minutes from the meeting. But the concerns obviously were with regards to screening and basically the masking of a 2-story home within the overall community and how it's become burdensome to the neighbors, and how it's difficult when you say you're making a large home or a 2-story home and then you're going to screen it. Well, that's double the screenings, double the shading, so it's going to cause shading regardless. However, the impact of the actual overall structure will be lightened with the use of the proper trees, proper screening, and we look forward to seeing that landscape plan prior to any approval for this application. The reason why I kept bringing up the chimney usage is I am in agreement with him that it is an element that we have seen, but we've discouraged. More of the homes that we've seen thus far have really been in keeping with the brick, and the brick style with obviously a little decorative detailing in the brick, just to bring a little more detail to the house. And to me, I think it brings, again, I'm not an architect, it's not my home, I don't have to live there, but we still have to put insight over what is in what's harmonious and within keeping with the overall village. And these are the elements we've used and we've asked and stated in the past to be used.
I do have one more question, if I may. The existing building is 2,312 square feet on the survey?
Yeah, I believe that's what it says.
And the proposed building coverage is more than double that?
You're talking about overall lot coverage?
The building coverage and then the lot coverage. There's a significant increase, which I think really speaks to neighbors' concern down the street as well. We're talking about a much larger house on this lot, and the lot is 1.1 acres.
I'd really lean on Ed Hollander to watch the screening on this house. The other thing, you said that you were...
Can I just
you were-
make
One
a
second.
comment?
You said you were simplifying the chimneys, but to make them minimalist, yet you've added finials on the top of the covered porch. You've got these vents, the shingles that are diamond cut, the brackets that are along the thing. So I'm trying to find why there's so little detail on the chimneys. That's the last I'll say about those, but I would like to see the detail.
Okay.
And, sorry.
That's okay.
Well, I just wanted to, the existing house is 4260 and the proposed house is 4567, so there's a minimal increase from the standpoint of square footage on the
We're
house.
looking at here.
Nevertheless, the screening is the issue of me.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any public comment on the application? Have we answered some of the concerns and voiced some of the concerns? Maybe.
Hopefully.
I'd say thank you very much.
We encourage you to share the landscape and screening plan as soon as actually
Understood. You just have to understand that when the application is complete, this is not an enforcery board. So we don't have powers after the approval. That's the building department, so anything that you voice, any concerns that you may have, or any violations that you may come upon on any application going forward, that would have to come from you. Okay, if you have to step forward, if you have a comment, please. Your name for the record?
James Franco.
Please step in.
If I heard correctly,
Are you speaking to your application?
No, I'm
or
speaking.
to this application?
You said, does anybody else have a comment?
Right.
About this application.
Just clarifying.
I came in when this gentleman was speaking, and I had a house on Pelletreau Street that I renovated, and the neighbors had a second-story balcony that looked right down into my pool in my entire backyard. And although we were friends, I came to the meeting and I contested it because they put a second-story balcony with an access door. So if
This board approved
No,
accessory?
the board denied it because I spoke up. And they were allowed to have the balcony, but not an access door. They had to have
Right.
windows.
Yes.
That were like non-egress windows.
Right.
So their kids couldn't climb out the windows and look into my pool at night or during the day or whenever they wanted to. So I empathize with this couple of their concerns about.
They're friends.
No, we're friends.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I
Don't want to get them in trouble.
It's a public meeting.
I empathize with this couple, if I overheard it correctly, that they're concerned about second-story balconies that are going to overlook most of their property. When I contested.
Just to let you know, this application does not have second-story decks.
Oh, so I misunderstood something?
It's okay.
I think the comment was just in general.
It was
not this
directed
particular
at other
application.
properties in the
Oh,
past.
okay.
Okay?
All right, thanks.
Not a problem.
No problem.
If I may, I have a question for council. What is the situation when someone comes in and puts in an access door subsequently that's not been approved? What is the recourse that they have? Do they go to the ordinance inspector?
They would go to the building inspector and if somebody
File a
objected to
complaint.
that, and notify the building inspector that the house was not built in accordance with the plans, and it's up to the building department to remedy the situation.
Thank you.
Okay. Nothing further from the board?
No.
Any questions,
I
comments?
have one
Yes.
issue. I would like to see the surveys of the adjacent properties, just to see where your setbacks are in relation to what's happening next door. Because the concern that we're having is with the new FEMA regulations, your house is much taller than possibly the houses next door because of that. And that, the 35-foot height restriction then starts above the ground level of your neighbors. And so just to double check your mass with what's happening next door, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I comment on that, because I've done a little homework.
Again, you still have
Okay.
to step forward.
I'm sorry.
Has to be on the record.
I understand, and.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
It's Bruce Bachman again, from 660 Halsey Neck Lane. I understand from conversations with council and others in the other villages that Southampton Village is somewhat unique in that they permit the 35 feet above the 3 feet, where everybody else has maintained a 35-foot level. So we have a bigger problem from a looming perspective, if I can coin that phrase, than we have elsewhere. And where we are, It is low ground, no question, it's flat. And as we put in these mounds, well, that's where the problem starts.
Okay.
And I have a big house.
Yeah.
And a lot of acreage, and this is still really has changed the whole nature of our property.
You have the former Paley House, correct?
660 Halsey Neck Lane, it was built in 1930s theater. On the stucco subject, we have a stucco house with a brick fireplace.
Right.
A brick chimney and a stone chimney. But, yeah, we have a
Take a look at it.
statue
Next door.
property, and it's really, quite exquisite, but it has been changed in its very nature as a result of all this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
At this time, there's you don't have the votes from the board to go forward. So you have work to do, and I guess revised plans to come back before this board. Are you requesting that we adjourn this evening?
Yes.
Okay. Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion, we approve applicant's request to adjourn the application for Jason Green, 606 Halsey Neck Lane. Construct new two-story single-family dwelling, attached garage, and pool pavilion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next
Thank you.
application, please.
Next application is Brian Turkelson and Stefan Byrne at 11 Bellows Court for construction of a new house and garage and pool. Banner. Bill, are those mini sets? Yes. Oh, great. Okay, thank you.
Nothing new, no new.
And do these differentiate at all from the regular filed sets?
We can share.
I'm sorry?
Bill, they are different from
Yes.
what's in there? Oh, then I need to stamp too.
Okay, so these are different than what we have.
There's some detailed differences,
Okay.
yes.
Let's stamp them into the record, though.
Yeah.
Okay, two.
Get them back.
One, two. Stamp them into the record. You want to share this one?
Sure. Doesn't matter.
Good evening. My name is Bill Slight. I'm the architect for the applicant, Brian Turkelson and Stephen Byrne. The address of the property is 11 Bellows Court. This property is currently a vacant lot. It is at the beginning of Bellows Court, which is a cul-de-sac. If you were looking on a clock, this would be at 3 o'clock on the entrance to the cul-de-sac. It's on the southwest side of.
So it's on the right side as you're pulling down.
That's correct. What's proposed is a two-story frame residence with a detached garage and a detached pool cabana. The garage is joined or linked to the principal structure by a breezeway. The differences that you'll find with regard to the filed plans and the set that you have in front of you, we've changed some of the detailing for the fenestration. We've also changed the height of the building by more than a foot. It is now from grade to ridge, 28.5 feet tall.
And what was it on the plan, Bill?
It was about 31.
So you've lowered it.
We've lowered it.
Okay, so north of the property, 25-foot setback, and south is 20, correct?
That's correct. 25-foot setback to the principal building setback, is that what you're asking?
Northern portion of the property.
The northern, to the
property, the
principal
house,
setback
Langley.
is 25 feet. The accessory structure setback on the north side is 15 feet. The house is substantially more than that, however, setback.
Brian,
Sure.
comments?
The only concern I have is the large window on your stairwell in the front of the house. I'd like to see the neighborhood if there are pictures. I'm not that familiar with it because the house itself it looks like a charming cottage, and then there's this looming 3-story window on your stair, and I don't see any detail on that at all. I mean,
Detail in what regard?
in terms of your casing and how it's done, it could just be a flat piece.
What actually is going to happen with that is that the plane of that window is going to be set into that wall by maybe about nearly a foot. So it'll have a very plain casing around that window.
So it's inset?
It's inset, that's correct.
And then what's happening at the base of it?
At the base of it, there's actually a window well, and we're just creating a little stone-covered barrier to that window well. I think you're maybe referring to that little shaped portion at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's this little the little wall that protects the precipice of the window well.
And then you're going to read your stair going through this window.
You'll read the stair, but as you've noticed in the front elevation, we've provided a great deal of detail in the windows. We have a three across the face of it. It's divided into 3 pieces,
Right.
And then each of those windows is further divided by the mutton grills. So it will be a screened window.
So your fenestration is 4 lights, 2 over 1s. The patterns are different. It's actually very handsome.
Yes.
On the west elevation, Bill, do you have that same inset detail for that?
Sliders, yeah.
For that large
that we have that
Railing
expanse?
looks so low.
Haven't really decided to do that on the rear elevation.
Right, because it's
Yes,
away from the street.
The width is different, and
Right,
it
okay.
was felt that it really wouldn't be as appropriate to do it there.
And the sailboat you're keeping, right?
Sailboat or something, a whale maybe.
And have you put any attention to screening for the neighbors?
There will be screening, on all sides of the property.
Sure, just for the record,
A
I've got
combination of both deciduous and conifer trees,
Okay. For the record, I got an errant email from one of the neighbors on Bellows Lane. I think it was
Yeah, I
Kathy
did
Bellows,
too.
who was
Husband
concerned. I can't see.
Yeah, Charles Bellows
Charles is here.
Oh, there you are, Charlie. Who was concerned about, I think they like the house, I don't have any issues with that, but the screening towards the rear. Have you put attention towards that?
and Stephen Byrne is here if you'd like him to,
It's up to the chair, I'm just mentioning, but as far as the house goes, it's very handsome.
Thank you.
I don't have any issues with it.
Esther, comments?
I agree with Brian about the large window. It just seems perhaps a little bit out of proportion,
I disagree. I don't think it's out of proportion at all. I think that it's actually, the scale of it has been broken down quite significantly. And it is appropriate to that element of the house. It provides a vertical counterpoint to the horizontality of the rest of the house. And I think it actually provides a great deal of balance to the building.
Christine?
I'm a little concerned about on the west elevation, you have an accessible deck from one of the bedrooms.
It's more of a walkout. It's only going to be about 4 feet in depth.
Sliders,
It'll be sliders.
so people will be able to stand out and overlook the neighbor.
Be able to overlook their backyard. Frankly, there isn't much in the way of rear neighbors in that area.
But how wide is it, 4 feet, you're
Yeah,
saying?
it's about 4 feet,
Just
so it'd be
about-
enough to stand out there. It's not even large enough to furnish. It's just, a walkout.
It's like a
It's a
Juliet
Juliet
balcony.
balcony.
Oh, okay, all right.
Anything further, Christine?
I'd like to see those windows instead of doors.
Okay.
On the balcony?
On the balcony?
No.
Sorry, I didn't hear your last comment. Could you repeat that, please?
If you're going to speak, you have to stand forward and you also
It's
have to
not
give your name for the
accessible?
Is the balcony accessible or
Yes.
not accessible?
Balcony is accessible, it's a Juliet balcony. You can
Okay,
open the
so
door
you're
and
asking
step
for
out.
it to be,
You're asking for the second-story deck to be non-accessible.
Yeah, because isn't that what we usually ask for?
Brian, any
Yeah.
comments about the extent?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, the bedroom right next to it, it's in the same plane as the balcony, so that person can see it.
One second.
What you've asked for is it not to be something that is furnished and that people would go out there for any substantial amount of time. Numerous times you've approved balconies that are so-called Juliet balconies where someone just simply has the opportunity to step out into the air and take in that.
Yeah, we
But
also,
it's not-
we've also allowed that with a lot more buffer. This is a very tight lot, and you're basically building out to the envelope of this lot, and that second-story deck may actually impose on the neighbor.
Have you been to the property?
Yes, I have.
Well, you can see that there is not, pools or other amenities in adjacent.
I'm going to object to this.
Just give us a
Okay,
second.
one-
Just give us a second.
1 second.
Okay. So, Brian, comments about the second-story deck?
If you look at the second floor plan, you'll see that if you were standing on the end of the balcony, it's the exact same view as you were standing in the bedroom right next to it.
I
So-
agree.
So it's,
I think it's very minor.
it's the same view from a bedroom as it is from the balcony, so the balconies sort of go relevant, and it's just a nice touch to the house.
Christine, comments?
No, I have nothing
Same
else to
thing
say.
throughout here.
Yeah, I see that.
All right.
Mhm.
Esther?
I understand about the balcony.
Yeah?
I actually think we're overreacting in a lot of ways. I know that we have Mr. Bachman here who was discussing other balconies and so forth. They are invasive, but I think we've gone full circle on a lot of balconies. I think a Juliet balcony without activity, without significant use and so forth, it's an occasional architectural feature, is something that I would not discourage and let the architecture work around it. I actually think that this is very minor, Charlie. I think it's a 4-foot. You can hardly stand on it. It's not going to be used very often. Let me just finish. I do, however, see a lot of balconies which over the years that we've seen, there's music and there's chairs, and it becomes a very dominant feature of your neighbor. The gentleman that's sitting right behind you had a house on Pelletreau was concerned, and I don't remember your specific application, but when we do try to enforce non-accessible balconies, a lot of times that's laughed at a few years later. So I'd rather know at this point, rather than I'd rather see a use of it that's purposeful and screened appropriately for the neighbor, as opposed to refusing every application simply because it has a balcony. I mean, the distance between.
I disagree with every application that has a balcony.
I don't.
We've allowed the applicant to defend their purpose and their meaning for the balcony, and we've actually approved a few.
We have, quite a few.
So it's
Yeah.
not just for the purposes of having it there, and we will deny it. We've been
Right.
very lenient in past times with the obvious evidence that it's not imposing on any neighbor's privacy.
Or it's used
Bottom
very
line,
rarely.
again, as we state always, the purposes of questioning the usage of a balcony has to do with privacy purposes.
How many feet is the balcony from the property line? 60 feet?
It's more than 60 feet, yeah.
Is it more than, or is it 60? The ridge of this house is 28 feet. 60 feet plus a 15-foot buffer, so you're 75 feet away from the neighbor, according to this survey.
I think that's the back of the house.
Not like it's,
Okay. I'm sure there's public comment. Anything further about the aesthetics of the house?
no, I like the aesthetics. I'm not,
Okay.
with this being set in, if this were flush with the wall, this stair tower, I would be against it, but I
Yeah,
think that
well, it's
Brian,
drawn that
you-
way on the plan, so.
I'd like to see some
What's that?
detail on that.
The plan is drawn that way. It's
Yeah.
drawn flush.
Right. So.
Yeah, I
with
think
the-
I'd
Do you
like
have a
to
sample?
emphasize
Hear me out for
Brian's
1 second. Hear me
comment
out.
regarding.
Can you show us a sample of a finished rendering or color rendering
No.
of the? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, but the clarification is, Bill, is that it's set back in. Brian, with that knowledge, do you have an issue with it?
I trust that that's what Bill's doing, but
Yeah.
there's no proof of that in the plans, so.
But if you were to mark that that's set in, would that
It's not an issue that I'm going to deny the application over.
Christine,
So
do you have
I'm
any
just
issues?
asking a question.
Do you have any issues with the window?
No.
No.
Okay, so would you be able to mark that that's inset by approximately 12 inches then?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have any issues with the window?
As long as it's marked, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there any public comment on the application? If you give us a second, and we'll hear
Well,
public comment.
before I leave, I just wanted to reemphasize a point that Brian made, that this house has fenestration across the entire back of the house and affords the same view of the backyard and distant neighbors as this small, little walkout balcony. So
You're defending a case that we've already resolved.
We've already resolved.
All right.
Okay.
Just want to emphasize
Yeah.
here that.
So-
Okay.
Is there any public comment?
Yes, sir.
Please step forward.
James Branco. Obviously, I have an issue with balconies. I have a condominium on the beach in Fort Lauderdale with a 4-foot balcony. I have a round, tall table with 4 stools around it and a lounge chair. So the idea that this gentleman is saying it's just a catwalk just to look out, I think is a misrepresentation, because I was able to buy a table and sit out there with guests, have dinner, and have a lounge chair out there. And once this is approved, there's no way of you preventing him from doing that.
Just out of curiosity, what floor is this
Doesn't
on
matter.
the condominium?
28th,
28th floor?
correct.
So it's a skyscraper that you live in?
It's a 29-foot floor building on the sub-penthouse
I
on the
see.
beach.
Okay, thank you.
But my balcony does not look over another building. It's a double lot.
I got it. I got it.
Did you see the setback of the second story?
Of which?
Of this,
Of
of
this
this,
particular
Oh, no.
application.
it's 75 feet.
I'm addressing this application. I understand what you're
Correct,
saying. That,
correct.
And you're absolutely correct. 4 foot. You
Could
have.
conceivably
It's
get
more
something.
than a catwalk.
Yeah.
But we're referring to this particular application and the setbacks that are prominent on this particular
They must look
application.
like little
It's
ants
6
from your balcony.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah, I'm on
Yeah.
the- correct. But
Thank
what
you.
I'm saying is, even with the 75-foot setback, you can still see into your neighbor's property, correct?
You can see it from a bedroom window.
Yeah, that's the point. You can see this from the second floor window, so that we don't-
But it's more unlikely that people are going to be looking out their bedroom windows than if they're entertaining guests on a balcony and over here splashing in his pool, if he has one, or whatever, and their attention be drawn to that. And look, that's why when I disputed Pelletreau Street, I agreed to the windows because I thought it was very unlikely that the owners of the house were going to climb out the windows, and also they had windows facing the side of the house. I never remember seeing them looking out the windows, but if I'm sure that if it was approved that they had the same sliding glass doors that they wanted, they would have had a table and chairs out there, had guests, and when I was in my pool diving in and they heard a splash, they would be looking over. And so I have a real problem with second-story balconies in the village, obviously. So I'm here in support of this gentleman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further public comments? Please step forward.
Charlie, can you state your name for the record?
Charles Bellows, and I'm a property owner on Lewis Street, 52 Lewis Street, and my concern is the screening. And my property goes deep. Those properties on Lewis Street, which abut this property, are long and narrow, very deep. And to say there's no activity in the neighbors in the backyard is a misrepresentation. I have an accessory historic barn in the back that will be a pool house. And now that pool will be in direct view of the second story of this adjacent property. My concern is if there's a second floor involvement with, let's say, a balcony where people are going to reside and look over adjacent properties, the board should be rightfully concerned about the screening. And there is no landscape plan to date that I know of that accompanies this application. So I'm here not to object, but out of concern that there be proper screening, in that the applicant has raised everything on the site. There's no more trees, there's no vegetation. If you visit the site, you'll see everything has been raised. I don't object to that.
Charlie, they
But I
saved the
think
trees that were flagged and so forth. I was down there a couple of days
everything's
ago.
been removed.
Even the
Right.
trees on the village side?
Yes, even the village trees were removed. But I'm not objecting to that because maybe it will be improved. But I think that those rear borders, adjacent property owners, some of which can't be here tonight, like my wife, and there's been a property owner right behind this applicant that just died. And the executor to that estate hasn't, I'm sure, been even notified yet. This is only 2 weeks ago. So I think that it would behoove the board to consider screening in this application because there aren't any trees or shrubs on this property between the property and the neighbors. That doesn't mean we're objecting. It just means that we need proper planning here because we're starting from phase one.
Do you have any objections?
A
as to
blank
the-
tablet.
Do you have any objections as to the architecture of the house, Charlie?
I also, like Kathy, we've experienced some illness. I was upstate. I just came back. She's still up there with her father. He is in very bad shape. She's coming back. I'm here now. I haven't had a chance to go to the building department to look at the application. So, yes, I'm not even acquainted with the footage, the space between this, let's say, second-story balcony, which is a concern.
Okay.
But I'm not sure where that is, to be honest, Hamilton, until I go to my backyard, but there is nothing there. Where my barn is, where there will be a pool someday, I believe is in direct line of view to the second story.
Okay, just so you know,
I
from
think
that,
I think we ought to be concerned about that.
I understand, but just so you
And
know, there's
there are
75,
trees that can be planted that would serve their interest, and what if I have a
yeah,
pool?
sure, no, I
you
understand
know?
that, but just for fun, and not to go on and on. So it's 75 feet from this to your property line, and then your pool setback would be another 30 feet, I believe, at least by code, I think.
20.
I
Is it
think
20? Okay, so you'd be about 100 feet away.
I think the distance is
Do you know what I mean?
reassuring, but the line of view
Is
is a
the
concern.
line of sight, yeah,
And why
so-
not plant a tree if there is a line of view problem?
I'm
And it's
with you.
not, I speak also for my neighbors. Because
You're
I'm
not
in the
objecting
corner.
to the second-story deck.
You're not objecting
only
to the deck,
objecting
but
to the
you'd
screening,
like to
correct?
see the screening, is
I have
that
to
correct?
study it because I haven't looked at the application yet, but I know there is one. And I have to look at the footage in the space and the relationship of my backyard to this second
And
story.
that the proper screening would place.
And I think, let's face it, let's just use common sense. If there is, excuse me, a second-story balcony with a sliding door, people are going to sit out there, right?
Sure.
So it's possible that will be in a line of view between some of the property owners. Maybe I'm a little bit more remote because I'm in the northeast corner, but maybe my neighbor and the executor of that
And that's
estate
why- and that's
will
why
be
there's-
very concerned. I'm not sure. And
Right.
maybe the owner will be concerned about my property if I have a pool.
And that's
No.
why there's posting and mailing,
So
and that's why you're
this
here
is why,
tonight.
right, this
got
is,
it.
it's just a point of concern, and I
So
think.
it's the screening
this
essentially, and
smacks of
that's it.
screening as a means of planning properly for all the property owners in that area. But keep in mind, it's a blank tablet. There is no vegetation on this lot.
Understood, sir. Maybe you want to pass a card on to the applicant.
I will be speaking to the neighbors,
You're
I'm
not serious,
sure,
right?
as they come in.
All right.
Hey,
I have,
there's work to be done.
Yeah.
Uh, has,
I have one more comment. Am I
Sure.
permitted? I feel like I'm not making any friends here tonight, but the board approved on the corner of Pelletreau Street, when I was living there, and Woolley, a second-story balcony with a door, and the people next door have been forever upset because they not only use the balcony, but they look into their property with binoculars. I have an issue with balconies. In Fort Lauderdale,
This board approved a second-story deck on Woolley?
on the corner of Woolley and Pelletreau. No one in the neighborhood can understand. For one thing, I lived within 400 feet.
It overlooks the street.
It overlooks the street.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, then it's the
Tiny little
people on the other
balcony.
side of the street whose properties are being looked at because the neighbor, for some reason, likes to look around the neighborhood. I'm sure it's nothing
Shoot 'em.
malicious, but he likes to look around with binoculars. They've
That
seen
sounds
him do
malicious
it.
to me,
Looking around
but-
with binoculars.
Now, I do that in my building in Fort Lauderdale, but I look at the ocean,
Right.
and all I can see is ants, like you said,
I got it.
even with binoculars.
Got it.
All right? I'm done?
I don't think we can be
We can't
blanket.
stop the guy
Give me a
from-
second for a sec, please.
Go ahead.
I don't think we can have a blanket statement about every second-story deck in the village of Southampton as
Exactly.
being unaccepted, because it's not a it's just not
What
reality.
about an intrusion into people's privacy?
When they become one, and if there is
We don't see that case here.
I mean, once it's approved, it's approved.
You're absolutely correct.
You can't go back and tell them, now you have to take the sliding glass doors out and put in windows.
You're absolutely correct.
So I would be very concerned if I was that gentleman sitting
But
back.
he's not. He's
He's
concerned
not.
about his
That's-
privacy.
You're not listening. He's
worried
more
about his
concerned
screening.
about the screening than he
Hear me
is.
out. His comments were the same thing this board would always have, and that's if you're going to have it, it must be screened. Every applicant, every second-story deck,
Screened by privet hedges, which lose their
a large
leaves in
maple,
them for
it could be
6
an
months
oak,
a
it could
year.
be- It could be
You have
an
a valid
assortment
argument.
of.
I think they should be Leland cypresses. They grow
And
4 feet a year.
We generally
Again,
encourage that.
But I didn't hear you say that he has to have a landscape plan. like you
We
did
haven't
tonight.
gotten to that stage yet.
I know.
Oh, okay. So it's
we're
not
still-
approved yet?
It's not approved.
Okay,
No,
great.
No. We're going to request at this point that the applicant have a screening plan for the back, but we're looking at the house in terms of the distance of the house, in terms of the style and finishes and so forth.
I got it. Thank you.
Anything further? Okay.
I think
Now, I think we've gone in a couple of circles here with regards to the second-story deck, but the consensus from a individual who is directly impacted has to do with the screening, and makes it very obvious and I think acceptable requests that a landscape plan on a lot that it's been basically.
or just a screening section, right?
Well, it has been altered. It is clear. It is a fresh lot. So I think it's a very reasonable offer that.
That can be provided for sure.
Perfect. Now, that you understand that's with
Mr. Bellows,
size.
as I understand the orientation of his property to the current applicant's property, is in the southwest corner. It doesn't fully join the entire backyard of this property.
But it has some impact.
I'll ask Mr. Bellows to confirm this, but the barn of which he speaks is in that corner of his property.
Okay.
Am I correct, Mr. Bellows?
I can't get that on the
Well,
record.
we can't. We're not going to go back and forth. We're not going to go
There
back
is
and
a-
forth.
There is a story-and-a-half barn in that corner. There's also significant mature deciduous and conifer trees on his property in that location. So he already has.
That's his screening.
That's just.
That's his screening, so.
I am pointing out to you that his own property mitigates somewhat what we have here. My client is willing to add, some screening. However, I just wanted to point out that whatever view there may be is mitigated by existing conditions.
What you're saying is not reasonable. You have a clear lot you have a fresh slate, you have a clear canvas, and to use the vegetation, the trees, the shrubbery that's on the neighbor's lot, and saying that that's enough screen, it's not fair for the neighbors.
I didn't
It's
say
not-
it's enough. I used the word
We would
mitigate.
like layering of screening, which will assist both your privacy as along with the neighbors.
Bill, if you did a line of 12 or 14-foot Leland cypress on the back southwest, or the back north, west line of the property,
Yeah.
would you be agreeable to marking that
Absolutely.
on the survey tonight and sign it as a licensed architect?
No, we're looking at a lot,
Were you
we're gonna
looking-
look at a complete
I agree.
landscape plan from a landscape architect that can be.
He's willing to provide it, so let's just get
Yeah.
it.
Let's-
Let's adjourn.
If they're gonna provide
sorry?
it, if they're gonna
I think we
provide
should
it,
ask for
yeah.
Object to what?
To what was just said.
By whom?
Bill,
Uh,
with good intent, but Bill.
You guys know each
but-
other.
What you said is wrong.
This dialogue is something that really should take place.
There aren't any trees
If you can hear me out,
to
please.
mitigate. There aren't
Again,
any trees
Excuse
to
me, I can't
mitigate.
get any of
They
this
were
on the record. if
removed.
we're
You
talking
gotta go
back
to
and
the
forth.
podium when they ask you.
understand.
Charlie?
This is an exchange. This should not be happening here.
Then if Mr., I will make the testimony for him. The neighbor says that there aren't any significant trees there, and so we will accept that. It will be a hardship as far as delaying the approval, but I understand the need for,
Well, this evening's
a
would
plan
not,
that will
just to
show.
let you know, this board would not approve this evening
Yeah.
without a landscape.
Right, but so we can provide that.
I think, Bill, what you got is favorable on the building itself, okay? And that I would, the neighbor, and Kathy Bellows, who was a former member of this board for many years, we've asked for landscape plans. I think it's simple.
Yeah, and in fact, I'm sure that
As well as what was
that
pointed
my
out-
client
as well as what was
will
pointed out to
consult
the
with
other
Mr.
neighbors.
Will consult with Mr. Bellows.
That would be
as
wonderful.
we develop the plan.
That would be wonderful.
Just one last question I have on the details. The chimneys on this house are what material?
They're going to be, stone clad.
Okay.
Anything further from the board?
No.
Any further public comment?
Yes, I have one more question, I'm sorry.
You have to step forward.
Please.
I'd like to know, what's your name, sir?
My name is Bill Slight.
I would like to know how Bill Slight and his friend were able to remove village trees without a permit. It's illegal, you cannot remove village trees.
Not before this board and not the precedent of this board to
I'm
discuss.
sorry?
Good
It is-
question.
It is a great question, but it's not a question of this board to answer or even have answered.
So what would that be?
You would have to go
department?
to the building department because that's the enforcery portion of the village.
So that's what that gentleman should do?
That's correct.
Okay. Did you hear that?
So you, at this time, you're not prepared for a decision, you're asking this board to adjourn?
Please.
Okay. Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion to approve applicant's request to
I
adjourn.
think the owner would like to speak.
Hi, my
Oh,
name is
excuse me.
Stephen Byrne.
I apologize, I
Can
didn't see you.
I'm sorry, I'm new to the board. I've been in.
I think you've gotten a favorable,
Yes.
right. With the understanding that you need to do with the neighbors have asked both via
Let's-
email and so
let the-
forth.
Let the applicant, do you have a question?
Screening.
If it's screening, what is I don't know if I'm allowed to ask, what is the height of a screening that's acceptable?
I think you need to have a discussion with a licensed landscape architect
Okay,
along with, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And your neighbor?
Well, beforehand, because he's the professional and will be able to basically, twofolds. Trees that will be able to survive, placement of trees that will allow the root systems to survive, and not just be a waste of money planting a bunch of trees or vegetation or bushes and then they not last 2 years. So the best thing to do is have a professional plan that out for you.
so is the Architectural Review Board the overseers of a landscape plan for approval or?
For
Prior
purpose,
to approval, yes, we are.
for purposes of screening.
Yes.
And so then there's got to be something for height? Is there a across-the-board height?
I think if you look at the vernacular of the area, it will become quite obvious.
I fear shade, that's, I mean, and to enjoy a pool, you need sunshine.
I don't think they're asking you to build a
I
garden.
know what you're
Thank you
asking.
very much for your
I
time.
know what you're asking, and again, it's not this board's. We want to say 10 feet, and you
We
come back to
appreciate
10
efforts
feet.
that you would put.
We
to-
have
and
given some
we've asked for
recommendations.
evergreens.
However, yes.
And
There
we
you go.
have suggested Leland cypress. We've done that in the past if it's for purposes of screening.
Yeah, we've usually requested a 12 to 14 foot Leland cypress along the back, and that's usually something that is acceptable,
Okay.
I believe, correct?
I'd rather have the professional
I agree.
or basically organize that. Thank you. It's been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 There's a recall for. Sorry. What was it?
First one, James Bronco.
248 White Street. The applicant present.
Well, I guess I don't need it.
You have the plans?
Sorry for my tardiness. I had an unexpected emergency.
Yeah, I'm getting,
248 White.
248 White Street.
I'm working on it, guys.
Your name for the record.
James Branca.
Okay.
B-R-A-N-C-A.
do you?
I'm sorry?
You don't have a balcony.
I wouldn't. I would just not do that.
Right.
I think it's rude.
Okay.
Not in all cases.
So you're doing cover front porch, in addition, and driveway gates, correct?
Correct.
Let's discuss the front porch. First, before we begin, I will let you know that the driveway gates, we look for more transparency. At the bottom half, is that closed or are those slats?
Okay, here's the thing with the driveway gates. I had 4 drawings done. There's 4 houses in the village. One is on Hill Street that installed bottom panels with no space in between, just 2 years ago. And I meant to drive by there today to get the number of the house, and I was so busy I didn't have a chance to. But if I'm on Hill Street, coming from the west to east,
It's not here. That's the gate.
in order to access White Street, I make a left on Halsey. So it's on Hill on the south side, about 3 houses before I make my left on Halsey.
As your example, is that what you're saying?
Yes, and I've seen other solid panel on the bottom. Now, my reason for solid panel is an ongoing problem with Halsey Street being a cut-through in the mornings and in the evenings for tradespeople that do not want to be in the backup to drive through the village to Main Street. So they cut through, they speed, they blow through stop signs. I was almost hit by a car with my dog because I walk my dog at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning on Halsey Street. My dog was on a leash, and all of a sudden a truck was coming. What they do is they cut, when West Prospect gets backed up, they start turning onto Halsey. I often I'm out in the front of my property in the summertime, sometimes with just a pair of shorts and no shirt, watering my flowers, and I have trucks, cars, people who are cutting through. It's getting worse and worse. A lot of the neighbors want to start a petition. We started it going, and then the woman who was in charge of it got sick.
I'm still, okay, I guess I'm failing to understand.
Privacy, sir.
Okay, privacy.
Privacy. I
So
would like
people are
solid
cutting
panel
through
for
and-
privacy, so when I'm out in my front yard in the
I
morning,
think in your condition, privacy is a good thing.
thank you.
Just to let you know, I understand, and this board understands, and we're sympathetic to your privacy. However, we have a bigger responsibility to the village of Southampton.
Correct.
And that responsibility is to make sure that we don't have homes that have
The panels, go ahead, I'm
Hear me
sorry.
out. Don't look so non-inviting.
The panels are only 3 feet.
I understand that, but
And the rest is all open.
That's 3 feet. We look at 50% transparency at our driveway gates.
Well, the entire driveway gates are 6 feet, so it is 50%.
It's not.
This isn't drawn to scale and it's not dimensioned correctly, so it doesn't support what you're telling us.
Can I see it?
Yeah. It says right here,
What you're
not
presenting.
drawn to scale, it's 6 feet high, and the open part is not half of that.
Okay, so the overall gates are 6 feet. And then he has, I don't know what this 5 feet is that he put in.
Right.
We don't either. We're looking at your.
And it's clearly stamped not drawn to scale, so we don't know what any of it is.
Oh, it does say that?
Yeah, look at the lower
All
right
right,
corner.
the panels are 3 feet. If they're not, I will make sure that they're 3 feet.
We would need to see that on our plans before we can do any type of approval. We would need to see that as part of the file.
Just to clarify, so it's exactly.
Can I submit it tomorrow?
Of course.
You can, but we're not proving it without having it a part of file.
Correct.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't have to come back to another meeting a month from now. I could have my driveway gate person.
What I'm saying to you is that we would not be able to approve any set of plans that we don't have prior to. So we're not just going to say, have it here tomorrow and then we're going to approve it. We need to see the plans.
Of course.
It needs to be part of the file.
Correct.
And then this board will approve if we agree with the design.
Yeah, I don't even know what that 5 feet is. I agree with you, that doesn't make sense to me. He's got the 6 feet, and the 6 feet 6 inches, is there 6 inches from the ground? So that's what that is. And then they're 6 feet high. The building department told me that was all right. However, I don't know why, that's 5 feet to what?
Right. And then there's a note on there that says half-inch spacing. It needs to be more than that.
No, I was told by the building department, half inch to an inch if I had to have spacing.
You have to have spacing.
You have to have transparency and spacing. So we recommend anywhere from at least 2 to 3 inches minimum.
2 to 3 inches?
Yes,
So
that's correct.
so that kills my privacy.
Yes.
On the higher part, yeah, I would, what would be nice, and you spoke
mean,
about
if this
community,
would-
and you
go
spoke
ahead.
about community. The whole issue of trying to get rid of solid or not approve or or phase them out, the solid, is not to have a Long Island Expressway effect, where you're driving down Hill Street or any other street and you have just a solid wall of either privet or just blocking the undulations of
That
property.
area in that community is an
It's
extremely
tough.
inviting
My
community.
neighbors have privet that are 16 feet high.
Understood.
Across the street
It's
from
a
me,
tough
the
call.
Nelson.
Would you like to
Then
look
you
at
add,
the house
hear me out for a
portion?
second, hear me
Yeah,
out.
go ahead.
You have the privet, you add now a closed-in facade as a gate or a wall.
Well, closed in 3 feet and open
I
at the
understand,
top.
but do you understand that the overall view from streetscape?
I think they'll be beautiful. The ones on
This board won't approve it.
the ones on Hill Street are gorgeous,
I understand.
and they're solid panel
I'm not
with
aware of
not as nice of design as I chose. This is from a house on Egypt Lane that he did in East Hampton, and I drove to look at the gates because the first 3 designs he did I didn't like, and then I went to Egypt Lane. He told me that he had done a set of gates, and this is from a house on Egypt Lane in East Hampton that he just completed, and they were approved.
This board has followed the same precedent. We won't approve it.
So how
The
did
way
they get
you-
approved on Hill Street?
I don't know what page you're referring to, and I don't know who approved it, and I don't know, there's no guarantee that they actually came before this board. Excuse me, it
Can I
had the,
submit the address to that house?
you can, if you like it as part of your evidence, and I don't know why it was approved. If
Because
it
it's a
was approved.
precedent. I mean, or a precedent
I
has been set.
understand. You're also comparing your house, again,
And
I
I'm
don't
sure
know.
they wanted it because of the
I
traffic on
don't
Hill Street,
know
and I want it because
if
of the traffic
that
on White
fence
Street.
was approved before this board. If it was not, which it has happened in times.
You mean they
People don't
did it
always-
without getting
Without
permit?
prior approval. It's happened in times.
Look, the
In regards to that,
So I
This
came
board-
here and did the right thing
Chair,
and
can
got
I
an
point out that
approval.
the survey shows no indication of the proposed gate, nor the new law that requires it to be at least 16 feet back from the road. I'm not even sure if this can legally be viewed. I'd like to focus on.
No,
the
they're actually 18 feet back.
18 feet back, but the survey is from 1960 on here. There's not been a new survey, which I believe is a requirement for a building permit. I'm sure you have that in.
It is a new survey.
I don't see the new survey showing the location of the proposed gates and so forth.
The proposed gates are on the plan.
Irregardless, there's two members, and I'm absurd, that have asked that we increase the transparency of the gates themselves. I have no issues with the house that you're doing. It's wonderful. The additions and so forth are handsome.
It's going to be
They're
gorgeous,
appropriate,
just
and
like
it's
my one on
gonna be-
Elm Street that I did a year
Yeah,
ago.
it's going to be fantastic.
With
You
a
have the
brick
issue-
chimney with a lot of
And
detail.
we've heard all sorts of applications, particularly on Hill Street and other areas where the solid gates have been pushed because of safety of children, because of
96.
dogs, because of every reason. So we're adamant.
I
that the
also have dogs.
We're adamant that the transparency is maximized as much as possible. The fact that there's solid gates mixed in with other ones, we're trying to phase the solid ones out as fast and as aggressively as possible.
Can we get it, can we
I think-
compromise on an inch?
I think that your
Which
first.
is what the building department told me would be
I think
acceptable?
that- Again, I think that your first step would be to show better detail, not to scale, to clarify the numbers as Brian has asked for on your schematic drawing.
So
and
you mean the
consider-
height of the panels?
Not to scale is
If you
not
could-
a.
If you could please go back to whomever drafted this.
Yes,
rendering and give us the correct.
It's
dimension,
Automated
size.
Access Incorporated. Mike, he's done several gates for me.
Okay.
Have him prepare the correct gates, present it before the board. Understand that we've asked for 2 to 3 inches in terms of spacing. If it comes back lower than that, you're preparing yourself for a possible denial or non-approval.
Well, I'm going to go for the least amount, 2 inches then. Is
I
that
would-
acceptable?
I would suggest 2 to 3 inches, or 2 inches would be nice, but you need to detail the drawings, okay?
Okay.
What do you mean by that? Well, actually, these gaps are spaces.
Just indicate it then,
Instead
instead of saying it, just indicate it.
Can I indicate it?
No, sir. You have not. You've indicated that this is not your design. You didn't even recognize it. If you can go back to the.
I recognize it.
Oh, okay, all right.
Any
I'm
questions
not
about the
following you.
architecture of the house?
No, it's fine.
No, I have no issues.
No.
Christine, anything
I
further?
have no issue on the house.
Just have the detail on the plan showing 2-inch spacing and initialed by the sign, by the gate company with a little more
Is there
detail.
any public comment? Okay. What we'll need at our next meeting, there seems to be no issues about the architecture of the house. The questions on hand right now are with regards to the
To the
gates.
gates.
We need the gates, we need the gates properly documented on size, the size of the slats, the spacing.
Can I write this down? Can I borrow a pen?
Of course.
Do you need this back? Can I write on the back of this?
No, that's part of the file. No, that's a part of the file.
We will need
We'll-
that back.
Do you have a blank piece of
If you'd
paper?
like to wait until after the meeting, I'd be happy to tell you
you
the
can
items
have-
that you need.
All right,
Okay?
I will do that.
So we can move on, but may I have that back,
We
please?
need that back.
Pass it over here.
Oh, I wasn't
Okay,
going to steal
it's
it.
all good, yeah.
In addition, as I don't know if you heard before, but this meeting will be televised. It will be on our website. It will be on the village website. You are able to go back for reference, just in case you are.
No, I hear you clearly. I see what you're
So
saying.
at our next meeting,
You're trying to phase out solid panel gates.
Exactly.
So at our next meeting, you'll have.
And some people have done them without having much integrity as I do, because
Or for other reasons, but we're voting on
because
your.
two
would you
gate
like
companies
this to
told me, you don't need a permit. I've done a lot of gates without one, and I would not do that.
Okay, so
Very good.
at our next
Thank
meeting,
you.
Thank you.
at our next meeting, you'll get a copy of the gates.
But we're
properly.
voting on the house.
Hear me out.
Well, I
Please.
thought I didn't have to wait till the next meeting.
Yes, you do. Please hear what I'm saying so we can we understand exactly what our steps are going forward, okay? At our next meeting, you'll have a copy of the gates properly drafted. 2 copies. Properly drafted at the height, documenting what the spacing is.
Well, I think Hamilton said he
Can you
would
hear
give
me?
me all that after the
Hear
meeting.
me out. Hear me out. Please don't interrupt. Just let me finish, and then if you have any questions, we'll proceed. Okay? So we'll have the gates properly documented, spacing, height. We'll also see the survey where it's properly documented, where the gates are located on the property.
Aren't they on the plan?
No.
Have to be on the survey.
On the survey.
You have
So
to
if
show
we
where
can-
they're gonna go.
Your survey's showing a circular drive.
It's a lot going on.
And your
We want to
survey
make sure
shows
you.
a
Not a circular
circular
drive.
I know,
It's
but your
just-
survey shows.
Your
Oh,
survey is from 1996.
What they did was they came out just to make sure there were
Do you
no
want us to vote on
structural.
this house right now?
I'm sorry?
We cannot vote on this house. This house cannot be voted on. The application is the house and the driveway gates. So without the.
Well, not the
conclusion-
house. You said there were no issues with the
There are
house.
no issues on the house, however, it's one application, one building permit for both features.
Correct.
So without having both features complete, we can't vote on it. So as of right now, we do not have a vote. If you're asking this board to vote.
I did.
it will-
Did you hear me ask for a vote?
I'm just.
I'm
giving-
meeting Hamilton after the
No,
meeting.
there's no meeting.
You
There's
said
no-
you were going to write down.
There's no meeting.
You have it on record. You said you would meet him, so now you have to meet him.
Stop.
You have to.
The-
Well, then I got to write it down.
Jot it down for him.
Well, then give me a pen. Now I need a
no,
pen.
Now stop talking so I can finish.
Here, there's a gentleman with a
Thank
piece of
you
paper.
very much, sir.
Okay, here it is. Number one,
Tell me everything that I need, because I won't
Pam,
remember
please.
this.
an updated survey. That's
Updated survey with the
Updated
driveway
survey.
gates
You
properly.
mean not showing the circular driveway?
correct.
Correct.
Because all they did was come out and view the house, because
Okay,
that's what
can
I
we-
was told by the
Number
building
two, there's only two
department.
items. Detailed drawings of your gate application. Got it? That's it.
Detailed,
Is that correct,
Gates.
Mr. Chair? Or do you want to meet him?
No,
for-
no, you.
No, I've already met.
No, it's
I'm-
on, it's on record. so-
detailed gates,
but I'm not having
2-inch
a meeting.
spacing, and
Spacing?
that has to be documented that it's 2 inches, it has to say 2-inch
Correct.
spacing.
Drawn to scale.
Drawn to
To
scale.
scale.
and
What do you mean
stamped.
by drawn to scale? Oh, you
Well-
mean like showing the panels are 3 feet?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know what that 5 feet is, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, it's good.
Drawn to scale. Anything else?
No.
So you'll have those two features. We have no issues with the
The
house.
house looks great.
It's gonna be beautiful.
It's going to be
Okay.
fantastic.
Right now, you don't have votes to
I got it.
proceed further. So you're asking this board to adjourn till the next meeting,
Is
correct?
that correct?
When is that?
The next meeting will be
24th.
on the 24th.
Of,
This
July.
month.
This month.
oh, that's not
July.
so far away.
No.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be like the end of August. That's
No,
fine.
no.
July
Every 2
24th.
weeks. Every 2
Thank
weeks.
you very much. You just gave me a gift. I'll
be
have it
away
done
that
by
week.
July 24th, 7
You'll be
PM.
Skyping in.
2 copies.
2 copies of,
Each.
of
2
each.
copies of the survey
Survey.
and 2 copies of the plan,
2 copies of surveys.
updated.
Then I got that already.
1960 and 1996.
Guys.
2 copies of surveys and 2 copies of the gates.
Yes.
Not for each one of you.
No.
Okay.
2 copies for the file.
Okay.
Of gates.
All right.
Got it.
Motion
Thank you
to
very
approve-
much.
So just for the record, there's no reason to meet or anything.
Motion to
No, I
approve
got it. I got it.
applicant's
You
request
know
to
what?
adjourn.
Quite frankly, I didn't want to meet you. You offered it.
I make a motion to,
Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Oh, good.
Can't wait.
Good night, everybody.
Can't wait.
Good night, everybody.
What we have left on our agenda, minutes from June 26th. All members present?
Yes.
Everyone had the opportunity to review?
Yes.
Questions, comments, concerns?
No.
Motion to approve the minutes from June 26th. Yes, absolutely.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. Motion to approve
I
the
make a
minutes.
motion that we approve the minutes from June 26, 2013.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And motion to close the meeting of July 10th, 2000, I'm sorry.
I missed my, my public hearing because I was third on the agenda and my architect was here for 606 Halsey Neck Lane.
And it was adjourned.
It was adjourned. I just wanted to know what was,
What's been requested are some adjustments on the fenestration, on the front entry, another look at the chimneys, possibly switching to brick with details on the moldings. Your architect would have all that information.
well, he came in.
In
late.
addition, we've asked for significant screening, landscape plans, and so forth. The meeting starts at 7 o'clock, sir.
Excuse
It's now
excuse me.
9 o'clock.
Two things. You had representation here, so your representative will be able to explain to you exactly what the needs are for our next meeting. Also, if you have any questions as to what the outcome or the dialogue, discussions, public comment, board opinion, it will be posted on our website. So you're able to log on to Southampton Village website, view the entirety of the meeting, fast forward it, because I'm sure you don't want to sit there and look through all of the monotony, and be able to see any of the dialogue that were present.
When will that be posted?
It will be on there
Within 72 hours.
Within
72
72, but I suggest
Maybe
you,
it'll be on by tomorrow.
maybe by tomorrow.
yeah, you should get in touch with your architect, though. He took very good notes and such.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, so there's a motion to close. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Good night.